and a very warm welcome on this live session. Myself, Joya Khan, Ambassador of Change from GETI, and your host for the evening. Holding the beacon of success, I bring greetings from the entire GETI fraternity. And as we usher in winds of change on this live forum of detox for educators, I feel privileged to welcome our esteemed speaker, Professor Ruben García, Country Director, Universidad Peruana de las Americas, Lima, Peru. Sir will be condensing his thoughts on class management, remote or face to face classes. Sir has been kind enough to take out his precious time and join us this evening. He is an educator and an English language teacher with 32 years of experience in ESL and ELT. He holds a degree in education and Masters of Applied Linguistics and TESOL in NSW, Australia. He also works as a coach of leadership, personal development, and professional growth. Outstanding Toastmaster of the Year and past president and current member of at Lima Toastmasters Club 3098. Sir is also a teacher trainer and has been accredited by Cambridge English Language Assessment. He is on the board of directors at IATFL Peru, director at Universidad Nacional Mayor de San Marcos, Dean of America, and he is currently member at Sherwoodtown Criers Toastmasters Club, USA. The list, my dear friends, is endless where Sir's credentials are concerned. So, a very, very warm welcome to you, Sir, on this live forum of GETI. And without much ado, I hand over the session to you. Over to you, Sir.
Thank you. Thanks for that warming welcome. Today is a very special day because we have a very interesting topic for all educators. We are leading classes, but the classes we are leading have to be very productive. So, how can we ensure? How can we get that successful outcome that we are waiting for? Then, let me begin by sharing my screen.
Sir, I request you to be a little louder
Okay,
so that you're
very
clearly audible. Thank you.
okay, right. Um, can you see my screen on presentation mode?
Yes, I can.
Okay, very good. Excellent. Then, now, am I audible enough?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Thank
very
you.
right. Class management, remote or face-to-face classes. Is it different? How can we manage our classes in order then to be successful? No matter if they are remote or face to face classes. We need to understand that what we first need is to avoid having results like this. We are the ones who lead classes, so we need to deal with emotions. Probably at the beginning of our classes, some students, no matter if they are remote or face to face classes, can have a face like that. And you say, oh, my student is sad. Or some students are angry because the classes are very early in the morning and they do not want to get up so early to be connected online or to go to school. Or some of them are scared because they don't like the subject you are teaching. And they say, oh my God, again, why? I don't understand anything. But some others can be tired especially young children or adolescents who are dealing with those video games, and sometimes they do not have any control at home at all, and they stay up late night playing with these video games, and they have to get up early the next day and they are tired or nervous. How about this feeling? Is it nervous? Do you remember the first time you have to be in front of students in your class? The first time you have to give a class. Some students can be bored, yes. So you have to ask yourself if your classes are boring. That's why your students get bored. Sleepy. Sometimes it's possible because with the class is very monotonous, they might feel sleepy. But how can we activate our students? In this way, we are working remotely. In this training, we are working remotely. So let me have a game with you all. Let's play a greeting game. Are you ready? When I show you on my screen, number 1, you say hello and thumbs up. You say hello and your thumb up. When I show you number 2 on my screen, you say howdy and give me 5. If I show you number 3, you say hi and stretch your arms. Say hi and stretch your arms. So remember, when you see number 1 on my screen, you say hello and thumb up. I show you number 2, you say howdy and give me 5. I show you number 3 and you say hi and stretch your arms. Are you ready? Let's start. If you have a good memory. All right. How do you feel? Well, this is a good start. You motivate your students to be connected since the very beginning. So you need to start with an activity. Well, this is an activity that I'm showing you in a remote way. But how can we do this in a face-to-face class? You can show them a PPT, of course, and in every slide with one number. And first, you explain them what they need to do when they see the numbers I have just shown you today. So, in this way, your students are connected. What are you getting from this? You are getting emotions. You are getting to be emotionally connected with them. And you overcome emotional learning barriers. Because if you have emotional learning barriers, you won't have a good class management. I have been teaching for 33 years now. And I now understand that this is the key. This is the key. That we need to be connected with our students in order to overcome emotional learning barriers. We need to ignite motivation. Ignite motivation. The term motivation derives of the Latin verb motere, which means to move, to put in movement, to be ready for the action, to be ready for the action. Motivation, then, is basic in every ambience of our life. Motivation, remember, is basic in every ambience of our life. Let's read what Weinberg and Gold in 1996 said about motivation. Motivation is the energy of the commitment and the discipline. It is the engine of all that conducts. Again, it is the engine of all the conducts. Huertas in 1997 said, without motivation, there is no learning. Please take notes of this. I am highly convinced that this is real true. Without motivation, there is no learning. When the student is motivated, what happens when the student is motivated? His attention gets better. He concentrates more, not intrusive thoughts, not intrusive thoughts. His memory is going to store more ideas. His memory is going to store more ideas. The motivation to study is to learn with a definite intention, since it is acquiring useful knowledge. Again, the motivation to study is to learn with a definite intention, since it is acquiring useful knowledge. So, the question comes, what motivates students to learn? What motivates students to learn? And a question from that first one, is it simply the desire to get good grades? Or is it a competitive drive to outperform their peers? Or do they want to satisfy some family demand? What do you think? If we continue asking the question, what motivates students to learn? We can also ask other questions to ourselves. Is it a hope to generally succeed in life? Whether that means being admitted at top college or getting a certain job? Or is it the promise of concrete rewards that drives them to succeed? What do you think? Answers can be diverse. Answers what you can perceive on your students. But let me tell you that motivation is a crucial part of a student's experience from preschool onward. So we need to find what is the purpose for them to learn. As one question before, only high grades matter for them? Or they really want to learn? So we need to give them a purpose. That is extrinsic motivation or an intrinsic motivation. But they do need to have an objective, not only scores, but what they really want to have, why they really want to do with the subject you are teaching. Me, as a teacher of English, I really make my students to feel the need to learn English in this global scenario, globalization, in order to communicate around the world, communicate with all the citizens around the world in one language, English. Researchers who have struggled with questions of what motivates students generally recognize two major types of motivation. As I said, intrinsic and extrinsic. And we will define this. What extrinsic motivation is, and the answer is what I'm showing you now. The desire to do or achieve something because one truly wants to and takes pleasure or sees value in doing so. Extrinsic motivation is the desire to do or achieve something not for the enjoyment of the thing itself, but because doing so leads to a certain result. And because doing what? Doing the achieveness of the enjoyment of the thing itself leads to a certain result. Some refer to do this divide as the difference between true motivation and engagement, or simply holding one's attention. Simply holding one's attention. Others see not a divide but a spectrum. Any action could be motivated by a combination of intrinsic and extrinsic factors, according to Rigby et al. 1992 and Moran in 2011. Let me show you the four motivations, the four dimensions of motivation. Dimensions of motivation. We are going to show you the dimensions, the indicators, as the dimensions of incompetence. The question is, am I capable? What are the indicator for this? The indicator is that the student believes he or she has the ability to complete the task. And the question, am I capable? I have the ability to complete the task. Control autonomy. The question, can I control it? The indicator is the student feels in control by seeing a direct link between his or her actions and an outcome. The student retains autonomy by having some choice about whether or how to undertake the task. Another dimension is interest or value. Does it interest me? Is it worth the effort? Very interesting one. Is it worth the effort? The student has some interest in the task or sees the value of completing the task. Finally, the fourth dimension, relatedness. What do others think? Completing the task brings the student social rewards. It's important because we are part of a society. We are part of groups in the school, at university, everywhere, even in the family. So we need to deal with networking. Such a sense of belonging to a classroom or other desired social group, of approval from a person or social importance to the student. How can we get that successful interaction with our students? And this is vital for our class management. The management of the class is to have control of the class. How can we have control of the class? By having our students connected with what we are doing and what they are doing among them. We need recognizing students. Something important, active listening. We need to listen to our students. And most important, respecting students. Being even-handed. This is very important, being helpful to your students. Now, for example, in English, we have ways to say things in a polite and in a very direct way. When I teach English, I tell, okay, since we are part of of social groups, we need to address to people properly with courtesy. And for example, instead of saying I want a hamburger, this can be done in your family, no? When you have very much confidence in your family with the members of your family, you just want to say I want a hamburger. However, it's better to say I'd like a hamburger. I'd like a hamburger because I want a hamburger sounds like rude. Even in your family, you can address to your brothers, sisters, father, mother, uncles, cousins. I'd like a hamburger. About send me the report if you're the boss. All right. But you're not only the boss in the classroom, you are the leader. Good leader supports good class management. So send me the report. How about could you send me the report to be more polite? How about leave me alone? In many moments of our lives, we would like to be alone for some minutes to think about a solution of a problem or whatever. We need time for ourselves. But don't say that rudely. You can say, could you give me a minute? Tell me when you're available. Let me know when you are available. Tell me, let me know. You're wrong. Wow, so rude. I think you might be mistaken. You can use that in the classroom because students are there to learn and they can make mistakes. And we tell them you learn by mistakes. So I think you might be mistaken. You might be mistaken. That's a bad idea. No, I'm not so sure that's a good idea. Your work isn't good. Come on, don't be rude. I'm not quite satisfied with this work. I don't like the colors in this design. I don't like the colors in this design. I'm not too fond of the colors in this design. So what do you think about that? It's good to create an atmosphere of confidence. If you don't control your emotional skills, if you're not able to control your stressful emotions, if you can't have empathy and effective relationships, then no matter how smart you are not going to be successful. This is something that Daniel Goleman said. And you all know who Daniel Goleman is. So we need to boost emotional intelligence, the EQ, emotional intelligence in our students. We need to deal with self-awareness, which is the ability to recognize and understand your moods and emotions and drives as well as their effect on others. Social awareness, the ability to understand the emotional makeup of other people, skills or skill and treating people according to their emotional reactions. Empathy. Self-management, the ability to control or integrate distracted impulses and moods. To propensity to suspend judgment, to think before acting, so important. Self-management, to manage our classes. And social skills, the proficiency in managing relationships and building networks, an ability to find common ground and build rapport. Rapport is to be in tune with our students. Then we have these four: self-awareness, social awareness, self-management, and social skills. We have to see what about recognition and regulation. So in recognition is who I am, and these are awareness. And regulation is what I do for regulation, how we manage ourselves and how we handle relationships. Teaching emotional intelligence has become a necessary task in the educational arena, and most parents and teachers consider mastery of these skills a priority in the socio-economic and personal development of their children or students. What Grill and Slavery in 2005 and Mayer and Slavery in 1997. However, there are many ways to pursue this, and from our point of view, it is important to teach children and adolescents using the emotional intelligence programs, which explicitly include and highlight emotional skills based on the ability to perceive, understand, and regulate emotions as outlined in the Mayer as a slavery model. Mhm. So take a look to the Mayer and slavery model. Teaching these skills depends on giving priority to practice, training, and improvement, and not so much on verbal instruction. Again, not so much on verbal instruction. The main thing is to exercise and practice emotional skills, enabling them to become just one more adaptive response within a person's natural repertoire. So, if we have mentioned this, emotional intelligence, and we have mentioned that it's important to be connected with self awareness, self regulation, social skills, empathy, and the key thing, motivation. Well, I have brought you here a chart that explains the elements and definition and the characteristics. Let me read some of them. For example, in self-regulation, we have the ability to control or redirect disruptive impulses and moods. And the characteristic is comfort with ambiguity, openness to change. How about empathy, which is the ability to understand the emotional makeup of other people, a skill in treating people according to their emotional reactions. So, cross-cultural sensitivity. It's very important in this globalization, cross-cultural sensitivity. Well, and we have something to understand more about this matter. And we have self awareness, thinking patterns, personal programming through visualization. We have empathy and social awareness, communicating, visual, auditory, kinesthetic. And we have the self management. We have reframing, self suggestion, defining map or reality, and calibration, matching for relationships and interpersonal. So we need the attraction on focus, give energy to, and then attraction to think, speak, and act. The aptitudes, knowledge, and the skills associated with what? The ruler. What is the ruler? Recognizing emotions in self and others, understanding the causes and consequences of emotions, labeling emotions accurately, expressing emotions appropriately, regulating emotions effectively. What do you think, ruler? Well, we have this perceiving emotions, understanding emotions, managing emotions, and using emotions, if that is emotional intelligence, which is very important for class management. No matter if your classes are in a remote way or in the face-to-face way. Emotional intelligence is being smarter with feelings. Again, emotional intelligence is being smarter with feelings. Through emotional intelligence, we can overcome emotional learning barriers in our classes. That's completely true. So, what kind of students you want to have when you are in class? and when they finish the class. Happy students, surprise students of what you do in class, how you surprise them. Funny, funny classes. Well, some fun is important in our classes too. Teachers who are well organized and well prepared are likely to have confidence in their students. Now, what colors can you see here? What colors can you see? You see black, you see purple, and you know the colors. You know the colors. So I'm going to practice with you an exercise, a very important exercise to be connected with the IQ, with the EQ better than IQ now, with emotional intelligence. Are you ready? I'm going to show you that the name of the color with different colors of the name of the color. It means, but you have to tell me what color you see. For example, red. Don't tell me what you read. Tell me what color the letters are shown. You understand? Okay. Remember, these are the colors. Now, are you ready? Okay. So, one, two, three. Remember, tell me the colors that I'm showing you. Don't read the, the letter that I'm showing you. The colors. One, two, three. How was it? Huh? Did you get confused? Your brain is real connected to the reading beyond the color that you see. That's what you get confused. That's why you got confused. And we have to eliminate the barriers that now, for example, we have done with our brain. So we have to go against some traditional ways of teaching, some traditional ways of education. We need to go beyond them for the benefit of our students. Let me finish with this. No matter what we do as educators, in order to get the best learning outcomes, the aim is to successfully have our students emotionally connected during the whole class, in person or remotely. Since our job as educators is to prepare students not only to be good professionals, but to be good people with an accurate balance of hard and soft skills. For further communication, I will be more than happy to be connected with you through Facebook. Thank you very much. Greetings from Lima, Peru.
Thank you so very much, sir, for that very interesting and engaging session. I think the topic was very relevant, that classroom management is definitely on the mind of each and every teacher, whether she's in the class or she's outside the class. And you explained it so beautifully right from the very beginning, that about how, what is the mood of the child, whether the child is angry, happy, or sad. Then later on you moved on to explain how can children be drawn to study, how can they be motivated. And you also discussed the intrinsic and extrinsic motivation factor, which is so important in drawing a child towards his studies. You also discussed about the four dimensions of motivation and how can we get a successful interaction with our students. Each and every point has been so relatable and so valid for the educators of the present times. More so, especially after the COVID 19 scenario. when the classrooms have been virtual. It has been every teacher's main aim to make her classes very engaging and interactive. So, during this period, I would just like to ask you one or two questions that since we all faced a real shock due to the pandemic, the education scenario also had a setback, and we had no other option but to resort to virtual classes. Now, in this, the children were no doubt very, very happy because they were getting the chance of a lifetime to be with their gadgets, be with their devices, where the parents were earlier a little apprehensive. Some of the institutions were also apprehensive about not allowing the children to carry their mobiles or their devices or their laptops or tablets to the school. But then the pandemic proved to be a boon in disguise when they could be with the system, with the technology, and study and do their projects or whatever. So, sir, now during this time also, since the physical presence of the teacher was changed to a virtual presence, how do you think? What were the challenges that were faced by the teachers to maintain class management?
Very good. Tell me what you can see here.
I can see a thumbs up.
That's right. And this is a symbol that has become very common nowadays.
Yes.
Through the network, through this pandemic, we had the opportunity to be in our homes, to be and to be connected with the world on Facebook, for example. And we have seen this symbol around the world. In this lockdown, it has become very popular. So, bringing the question to here about the gadgets, about technology, students now are connected. As I said before, some students don't have regulations at home and they can play video games until so late at night and the next day are very tired. So we need to not to avoid students to do what they like, but we need to regulate them. And we can use that principle in our classes. I do not agree with the universities or schools that do not allow the students to bring their cell phones or their what do you say those gadgets that are pad, for example, the pad. There is a pad, right? Instead, we can use them as part of the classes. For example, if the students have cell phones, you can use Kahoot for them to use the cell phone, but with educational purposes. That's important. So bring the use of them gadgets to educational purposes in order to control. But you need to talk to your students and to set up the regulations. Otherwise, you won't have a good class management. So first, you need to train them. You need to prepare them for what you are going to do, for the activity, and let them know that what they have and what they do and what they use in leisure time is also important to be used for educational purposes.
Thank you so much, sir. Sir, in your presentation and in your points, you have very relevantly mentioned emotional intelligence. You have also spoken about the different skills, and the one place it is written that emotional intelligence is being smarter with feelings. Now, in the present context, I would like to say when the world is moving in a rush and roar of everyday life, we see the value system is receding at a very fast rate. So, how do you think that we are able, without making things very obvious, without making it sound like a sermon or a lecture to the students, how do you think we can imbibe the value system in our students?
That's a very interesting question because with different topics, students can be like this. But how can we introduce those topics in order the students to think about, to be worried about, because they are really relevant topics as the lockdown, this pandemic, and many other relevant things that are part of the news nowadays. So, first of us, we as leaders, we as educators, we need to understand one thing, that what the message that we share, we need to take it part of us. If we read something from a newspaper about something that happened, so we need to bring that piece of news to our own life. For example, they learn about a hurricane in some part of the world. Many people died. I'm sorry, that's very terrible. So, in order to go deeply into that piece of news, which is really sad, why don't you tell them, let's learn from that in order to be preventing, I mean, to prevent this thing. If a hurricane happens here, are we ready to face it? So we have to learn what a hurricane is and the fatal and those effects that can bring them. So that is the main way to invite them to be part of the topic in order to avoid these phases.
That's just wonderful, sir. Going into the deep psyche of the children, where you have, very closely observed when they are angry, when they are sad, when they are excited, when they are happy, and when they are, upset with things around them. So that's one of the prime things that a teacher must keep in mind before entering the class, because the entire study system, the entire academics that we are leading a child to, is very much focused on the emotional well being of the child. And you have very beautifully focused upon it. You have also mentioned that let's overcome emotional learning barriers, ignite motivation, and that motivation is basic in every ambience of our life. So clearly, you have focused upon motivation. And the key word is that without motivation, there is no learning. So I hope all the educators, we all are attentively listening, and we all have attentively focused upon the key points that you have put forward. And I hope we are able to take some wonderful points away from your presentation, not only take them away as beautiful takeaways, but also implement in our classrooms. Because unless and until we implement what we hear, unless and until we, practice the thing and then see the outcomes, I think the very efforts fail. So, all our dear teachers, I hope you have benefited from today's session over here. And I thank our dear viewers for being with us and all the other viewers who will be eventually seeing our session. Thank you so much. And thank you very much, sir, for taking up such an interesting topic, which will definitely prove to be fruitful for all us educators.
As a closing, in order to guarantee a good class management outcome, so all the teachers need to, when we prepare our lesson plan, we need to think about memorable classes that the students can remember for many, many years. Because remember, it's not what you say to the students to do, it's what you make them feel, is what they are going to remember you. Not you, but your lessons. And stop telling the students, learn by heart, memorize. No, but you tell the students, I am here to teach with heart.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's just beautiful, sir. It has struck a chord in my heart the way you have said it. That yes, let's just not teach because that's not what's going to last. Let's what the way we make them feel about our lessons. That's going to be impactful. So that's just beautiful signing off by you, and I think I'm going to treasure it and so I think all the other teachers and educators well. So
And
not
just
to learn
remember,
by heart, not
happy
to learn
teaching
by,
only.
yeah,
Happy teaching. Happy teaching.
happy teaching, happy classrooms, joyful teaching, and fun while learn. So thank you so much. And I'm going back happy. I hope each one of us who has been here on the session also has enjoyed and is going back happy. So thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful evening this side in India, and morning or afternoon, whatever it is, all around the world. Stay blessed, everybody. Thank you, everyone.